We are on. Okay, so on this channel, I really love talking about new American distilleries. And I think that the misconception a lot of the time, at least in the U.S., is that new implies small. It implies craft, and old implies sort of big and industrial and kind of serious, and these ginormous distilleries like Buffalo Trace, Heaven Hill, those kinds of things. But it isn't always true that those two intersect. For example, Bowman Distillery in Virginia is pretty darn old. They're coming up on a century now. I think they were founded in the 30s. But they're still kind of small. They have a ton of warehouse capacity, but I think it's just they just added another still. But it's like they can make a very, very small amount of whiskey. It's pretty limited there. And on the other hand, you have the possibility of a fairly large distillery that's new, right? And that's kind of the subject we're doing today. We're doing a whole bunch of new American distilleries that are not small. These are at least kind of mid-sized, if not like ginormous for some of them. All right, let's get started. It's a bunch of bourbons, 2 bottled and bonds, 2 barrel picks, a couple of old favorites of the channel here, and some ones I also haven't tried before. Be patient with me while I pour. Okay. Come on. All right. Well, let me kind of start by introducing the first thing in the lineup here. It's New Riff. New Riff. Bottled and bond. Oh, Jesus, that's loud. Bottled and bond bourbon, straight bourbon from Kentucky, from really northern Kentucky, just outside Cincinnati. If you've ever been to the Party Source, again, just across the river from Cincinnati, New Riff is right. It's not even across the street. It's literally, I think, in the same parking lot. So they are right next to each other. New Riff started basically basically under the tutelage of MGP, which is fine. We love MGP here on Different Spirits. All right, so this is so it's straight, and there's no age statement, which means it's 4 years old at minimum. No chill filtration. Let's get to nosing. I just noticed I don't have my water dropper. Oh well, I may have to go run get it in a second. All right, 65% corn, 30% rye, 5% malt. So pretty darn high rye in this. I hate to say it because it's cliched, but it's pretty spicy and pretty just kind of austere, which I'm into. So I'm getting kind of toasted, street elote kind of thing going on, but then take some a whole bunch of black pepper, ground it right over it. A lot of herbs, actually. A lot of dill, famous MGP note. I'm actually more dill in like New Riff now that I get in MGP these days. Dill weed, but also oregano. There's some basil. Touch of thyme. It's very, very, very savory. Kind of Lithuanian black bread, so sourdough rye bread, so thick you have to cut it with a cleaver. It's nice. There's a little bit of a, what is that? There's a sour note thing. It's not, part of me is thinking cherry, but no, it's really almost more like a sour orange peel. Bergamot peel, that's what that is. Yeah, not super duper expressive, but I like the earthiness. I like the austerity of this. on the palate. Nice. Again, definitely bring some spice. Cinnamon, cardamom. A little bit of allspice in the house. But then the herbs are there. Black pepper. Definitely a little bit of, not jalapeno, habanero. Habanero pepper. Actually, not as herbaceous as on the nose. It's really more spice driven. There's a little bit of like parsley and thyme, but that's really about it. A little bit of Angostura bitters, maybe. That kind of black Lithuanian sourdough rye thing. That's happening. The bergamot, that's almost like bitter orange peel kind of character. Not a ton of mouth presence. It's you're getting there. It's not light. It's not light by any means, but it's certainly not like filling up my entire palate. It still feels relatively young, medium bodied. Nice, refreshing. This would absolutely kill in a Manhattan. I like this first impression. I mean, so this is $40. Is this better than, say, like similar high rye bourbon, like Old Grandad Bonded? Yeah, this is better. I don't know if it's, that much better. If it's like, $10, $15 more better. But I like it. I'll be right back. Thanks for humoring me. This is what I was looking for. Okay, we're gonna add some water. Come back to it. Not too much, like 2 squirts, I think should do it. All right, moving on. I'm a little bit in a hurry. I have to go pick up my daughter in a bit. Hopefully I'm not sloshed. All right, Wilderness Trail. 6-year-old bottle and bond. Now this most of these stem from like the year 2020 or so. So a couple of years ago. Now this is not marked because I think it was the first 6-year-old they came out with. So, which was a wheater. And it is 64, that mash bill is 64% corn, 24 wheat, 12% malt, so a little bit more malt than the new Riff. I like Wilderness Trail. It's the sweet mash thing they do gives it a very floral character, but it's also, I don't know, gives it some depth and complexity that bourbons of its age do not share. I think this is the second one I've reviewed. I should change that. Injustice to the mid-sized bourbon producers of America. Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay. Definitely throwing a lot of like cinnamon churros in vanilla ice cream, and that's like a lot of what this smells like. There's some frosted mini wheats I'm enjoying. It's one of my favorite cereals. You ever have like a heavy lifting session, like squats and stuff, and you go home and you skip the healthy meal and you just grab your box of frosted mini wheats and you just like eat half the box, and that's like your post-workout carbs? Leave a comment if that's you. No shame. A little bit of pepper happening, white pepper. It's a very, very clean nose. Oh, and there's that kind of floral thing that I associate with this distillery. That's there. It's like a little like cloud of potpourri kind of over the churros. and frosted mini wheats. Other stuff, little hints of like dried cherry. I'm really started digging the floral potpourri thing now. More pepper. I mean, like common bourbon notes. Do I have to say brown sugar? There's some brown sugar in this. Much more friendly for the average nose than the new Riff is. Much less austere. You get a little touch of like dried basil in there as well on the palate. Again, bottled in bond, so it's 50% alcohol. More complex. I mean, this is like much more expensive than the new Riff. This new Riff is $40. This is like, I think 70 when it first came out. One thing, so the first thing I'll say about this is very delicious. This is very crushable. I mean, you can tell it's a bourbon. Like it just screams bourbon at me, but it's also kind of light on its feet. Yeah, this is summertime bourbon. Like this is, I can tell that there's substance and character, but it doesn't like overstay its welcome. There's a bitterness to the new Riff, which I like. It's very serious. It's very austere. This doesn't have that. It's kind of like it's there. It sprinkles my mouth with its beautiful like weeder pixie dust, and then it's just kind of on its way, and I'm just left with a refreshing sensation. Let's get some flavor notes on the table. I think this is the only weeder on the table, actually. Brings some mintiness, actually. There's a little bit of like, what's the really cheap toothpaste? Like Colgate? Is that the white one? With yeah, Colgate, but nice. The frosted mini wheats thing is back. The churros thing with the vanilla ice cream is back. I mean, it's all the same elements, really. It's a little bit of kirsch, a little bit of like cherry eau de vie happening. Oh, and just little hints of like toasted corn. Nice. So a lot of the same stuff in the nose, but it feels different somehow. It's like just putting little bits of emphasis in different places. Like I wasn't getting the toothpastey thing on the nose. Mouth feels good. Length is pretty good too. It's better than the new Riff. Finish. I mean the sense of the cooling sense from the toothpaste elements that holds on for a long time. Again, it's refreshing. Like it's very mouth watering. I kind of want to keep sipping this. Yeah, objectively, I don't think this is that much better as a bourbon than the new Riff, but like if I was serving one of these for like normal people to drink, this bottle would get emptied way faster. All right, moving on because I'm running out of time. All right, this is Green River. Green River, an absolutely enormous new distillery. I mean, they're claiming that they have tradition going back, yada yada yada. It's a new distillery and it's huge. This is relatively old. It's a barrel pick. I don't know a whole lot about it, but it's 59.5% alcohol, 70% corn, 21 rye, 9 malt. This is barrel number 49, and it's about 7 years old. Maybe 7.5. And you can absolutely... Hold on, let me check my Let me check my phone. Nothing's on fire. Yes. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, this is very. I mean, rich is kind of the first word that comes to mind. There is definitely a root beery character to this. Immediately, I'm kind of sensing that they've dialed down the rye a little bit versus the new Riff, at least. It's this smells more in line with Heaven Hill, Buffalo Trace, Beam, those kinds of characters. Maybe not Beam, but those kinds of characters. Yeah, just root beer. Maybe some pep. No, RC Cola, not Pepsi. Brown sugar. I hate to say it, but it's in there. A little vanilla. Kirschwasser again. If you haven't had a good proper German Kirschwasser and you're a bourbon fan, you are absolutely missing out. Go buy one. Go try it. Get that flavor in your brain. Black pepper. Certainly a lot of toffee happening. I mean, it's very just kind of desserty, and there's a little bit of nuttiness creeping through now as well. A little bit of just crushed nutshells. But yeah, this you could put this alongside those more traditional oak-driven, kind of lower, higher corn bourbons, and it would not feel out of place at all. This is very clean. It smells very delicious, very desserty, confected, I think is the word. So let's give it a try on the palate. (59.5% alcohol), and it shows it. Ooh, big spicy mouthfeel. Lots of black pepper, lots of it's like overstewed tea, but it's like overstewed tea that's been made into milk tea. There's like a Hong Kong milk tea thing happening. But they still steep the tea for 3 hours. That's nice. Dessert cherry. I don't get a whole dessert, just straight up dessert cherry, a whole lot on bourbon. This one I totally get it. Just topsoil. Ooh. That kind of toasted corn thing again. Street elote. Vanilla, absolutely. Creme brulee. The nutshelly thing. It's less overtly nutshelly than something like Beam distillate, but it's not getting as far away from that it makes me think the kind of dried leaves thing you get with Heaven Hill. It's somewhere in between those two, maybe closer to the Beam in character. It's very nice though. Terrific mouthfeel. I mean, this it's just really dominating my entire mouth. It's getting back into my throat, which always impresses me. Keep your mind out of the gutter. Finish lingers for a long time. I don't know the pricing on this, but yeah, it definitely feels like a step up from the first two. Most certainly from the new Riff. But it's also just a different style. The new Riff is very austere. This one is very This one is just a straight fastball pitch, straight down the middle, right into the faces of a traditional bourbon fan. If you like Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, you will probably like this. It's that kind of style. 2, 3. I'm going to say this is going to take 5, right? I'll take 5. It took 5. All right, and last one up. Another older pick. This is a Woodinville, which I think is Washington State. Woodinville Bourbon. This is a pick from Midway Liquors in Maryland, if I recall correctly. About 5 years old, 72 corn, 22 rye, 6% malt. And yeah, I'm excited to try this. This is another kind of new but mid-size American distillery I haven't really tried. They weren't always super duper big, but every time I look at their numbers, it feels like they've installed like another still or something. They've really gotten pretty big. All right, here we go on the nose. Ooh, definitely immediately different character. There is now a kind of a medicinal, like a cough medicine. No, Ricola. There is now a Ricola element to this, which I'm digging. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So Ricola, I'm struggling to get more than that. Oh man. Yeah, herbaceous, aromatic kind of herb. Yeah. And then, like, okay, definitely vanilla again. Overstewed black tea. We'll go with that. But it's not like English breakfast tea. This is a little bit more. It's more like Ceylon or something. I don't know. Hard to get a finger on. Definitely like good old fashioned American oak. Black pepper. Hot fudge? I know that sounds weird in the context, but yeah, okay, that's absolutely what that is. Yeah, like Hershey's hot fudge out of a jar, plus Ricola, and everything else I just mentioned. It's a very different character from the others. I'm kind of into this. Let's see what happens on the palate. This is the strongest. This is 119.56 proof. Don't make me do the math on that. It's just below 60% alcohol on the palate. Ooh. Very herbaceous, very aromatic, very medicinal. Fun. I can't remember. I aside from just looking at the mash bill, I wouldn't be surprised if there were some like heirloom varietals going in here, like heirloom barley, heirloom rye, something like that. Righteous. Okay, so we've got right up front, Big Red chewing gum, leading the way. Basil, mint. Not so much Ricola. It's more like a little Robitussin on the palate. Kind of some basil and mint muddled in Robitussin and Big Red chewing gum. Vanilla again. Am I getting chocolate? I don't think I'm getting chocolate. But there's a sweet tea element to this. So not like Hong Kong milk tea. It's just like straight up like, how many lumps do you take? All of them. I would like all the lumps in my tea. That's kind of what this tastes like. Super sweet afternoon tea. And there's a kind of slight smokiness. What is that? Certainly not peat. Reminds me of some kind of tobacco, but it's hard for me to put my finger on what. It's like the ash you get from smoking like a pure Oriental blend. So not the Oriental tobacco itself, but like it's the ash that happens from that. Yeah, that's about the best I can do. I go looking for other elements of Oriental tobacco, like the lemon and stuff, but grassiness maybe. It's really not there. It's just kind of the ashiness. But really nice. These last two in particular are a fun little contrast. Because the Green River is very much, again, a kind of a straight shot. Whereas this one, the Woodinville, is much more leaning towards, I think, just a more active, more aggressive distillate. But I really like both. So we'll see where they go with water. And I really have to get going. So let's finish this up. Back to the new Riff. On the nose, it actually sweetens up with water, which I'm not mad about. It kind of gets like this kind of roasted marshmallow thing. I wasn't expecting it to kind of to basically start smelling like a high rye s'more. But I'm not mad. I'm okay with this. Nice. On the palate. Same kind of feel. There's a little bit of sweetness that comes out. So imagine like this kind of spicy nature you were getting before, but you had a little bit of like the Caro light. So light corn syrup with a little bit of like vanilla in there, but not gross somehow. I find Caro completely gross, but this is not gross. This is delicious. Where this is still being let down a little bit. I'm sorry, wrong writing implement is, I think, just the mouth presence. It still feels a hair bit thin. And don't say I drowned it, because I didn't. Hair bit thin, a hair bit short. But yeah, I think this is, again, it's a step up from the more entry-level high rye bourbons. A lot of them are bottled in bond that I can think of. It's not going to give, Four Roses single barrels, single barrel, like any deep worries. I don't think, but it's, I don't know, it's pretty darn good. I'm going to give this an 84 out of 100, if this pen will cooperate. Come on. Write it in my little text notes here too, just in case that doesn't stay. 84 points. Really nice. Okay, moving on to glass number 2, and this was the Wilderness Trail. 6-year-old, bottled in bond, Weeder. This is the first one they did. Not a lot of development on the nose. Maybe there's a hair bit of that Colgate thing coming through now. But yeah, it's still a lot of churros. It's still a lot of like, not Cinnamon Toast Crunch. What did I say? Frosted shredded wheat. And that little delightful floral potpourri thing. Yeah, nice. On the palate. No change really, but I'm not mad. I'm not even mad. So it's $70, which is a little bit out of my comfort zone. But if you were looking for like a session bourbon, this is a really good choice. I'm going to give this. I'm going to give this a full 85. Oh, 85 out of 100. Yeah, it's on points. Great mouth presence. Really just nice flavor. But I think the deliciousness factor kind of carries it a little more beyond where the numerical score, what the numerical score says. 85 points, but also it's yummy. All right, moving on. Back to the green barrel. I might need a nap after I grab the kids. Green River, barrel 49. Yeah, really, not a ton of development in this. It really just feels like such a classical, like, old school, straight from Kentucky, oak-led, low spicy factor sort of bourbon. It's got the kind of like sour doughy thing, but it's not sourdough bread. It's just like sour. I don't know what I'm talking about. This is a terrible video. I'm sorry you're watching this video. Anyways, not a whole lot of development in the nose. It really reminds me of something, you know, in the kind of Heaven Hill side of things, except we're really leaning more on the nutty side of than the. So a little bit of beam nuttiness coming in, encroaching on the classical Heaven Hill notes, but it's in that genre. All right, on the palate. Definitely brings a lot of pepper on the palate, a lot of spice, and the finish just hangs and hangs and hangs. This is it's just a really well-made bourbon. Ooh. Just one of those days, y'all. Yeah, no, so if you are in the market for, you know, remember all those distilleries I just mentioned? Like kind of that big wood bomby style, but like desserty and confected. But you don't want to pay those prices, and you want to kind of step outside of your comfort zone a little bit. Not too much, a little bit. I think this is a great choice. If it's not super duper expensive, if they're keeping the price under 100, even better under 80, I think this is worth a grab. I'm going to give this a high score. I'm not sure how high. Yeah, no, the finish, the quality of the finish on this absolutely elevates it. I'm stuck between 87 and 88, so I'm just going to give this an 87 plus. It's a cheat, but that's where I am. 87 plus for the Green River barrel number 49. But I mean, if you were a maniac for this style, you will probably be an 88 or even higher. Moving on. Woodinville. Once again, now with some water. Kind of calms down a little bit with the addition of water. It's not anywhere near as aromatic. And that's not what I want to see. Still smells nice, but now it's really dominated by those kind of chocolate vanilla notes. Still a little bit of Ricola there if I go looking for it, but yeah, I might have liked the nose neat a little bit better, which is not a good sign. On the palate, nope. No, it's still pretty damn good. One more time. It's a different sort of character. This feels more of a grain-driven bourbon than, I mean, really everything else here. Yeah. It feels like something where they're just expecting the distillate to stand up for itself, and it does. On the palate, not as much change as was happening on the nose. Let me try the Green River one more time. They're very, very different styles, but the quality is actually pretty close. One more time on the Woodinville. I think it's the mouth presence. I think it's the mouth presence that kind of makes the difference. This has the Green River just has a little bit more mouth presence than the Woodinville, but they're darn close. I'm going to give this 87 flat out of 100. It's not that expensive either. I think it's, maybe $70 or so. So not super duper cheap, but reasonable. And yeah, that's the video. So 84 for the new Riff, Bottle and Bond. 85 for this Wilderness Trail. The Green River gets an 87 plus, and Woodinville 87. Thanks for watching, and cheers.